So today's keynote speaker of the day is Professor Amresh Dalal sir from Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Guwahati. So he received his PhD degree from IIT Kanpur in 2009, and he was a postdoctoral research associate at Purdue University from September 2018 to December 2009. He has research interests in the area of computational fluid dynamics and heat transfer, finite volume methods, and unstructured grid techniques, multi-phase flows. Dr. Dalal is now profoundly involved in developing a general purpose, versatile, and robust computational fluid dynamics solver over hybrid unstructured grid, which can solve a wide range of real-life fluid flow, heat transfer, and problems involving transfer phenomena over complex geometries. He received Professor K.N. Sitaramu Medal and prize for the best young researcher in heat transfer in 2017 from Indian Society of Heat and Mass Transfer. He has 90 international journal publications and 76 international conference publications. He also co-authored a book titled Fundamentals of Convective Heat Transfer, and he published 8 book chapters in Springer. He guided 11 PhD students, 52 MTech students, and 21 BTech students. With this kind introduction, sir, the stage is yours. So please address the participants.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Kiran. So, a very good morning to all of you. So, first of all, I would like to thank Professor B. Kiran Nayak and Professor Kishore Singh Patel and other organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk about some topics on biomicrofluidics. You have seen from my biodata that I am mostly the computational researcher, but recently we have started doing some microfluidics work with our students and with earlier director Professor Gautam Biswas. And some collaborator Professor Siddhartha Shankar Ghosh from Bioscience Department of IIT Guwahati. So today I will show a few results, some experimental and some numerical results based on the this drug delivery and also the flow of cancer cells inside some constricted microchannels, which actually mimics the pulmonary capillaries. So now I'll share my presentation. Professor Kiran, is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay, so I am switching off my camera. Then again, while discussing, I will just switch on. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So first, we'll discuss about this migration of hydrogel drug carriers through narrow passages. And later, I will show some results on flow dynamics of cancer cells through constricted microchannels. So you can see that biomicrofluidics finds wide applications in cancer theranostics and drug delivery applications. Control of nanoscale properties of microfluidic device is the main challenge that lies ahead in the path of development in drug delivery applications. So nanocarriers are the drug carriers for the cancer, and traditional treatment we know of this cancer is chemotherapy, and it has also some detrimental side effect you know, because it kills these fast growing cells like hair cells, normal blood cells. And also we need some targeted drug delivery. Why? Because if we don't do that, then we need to give more or higher doses of drugs, and it leads to higher toxicity and eventually leads to a multi-drug resistance. So controlled drug delivery by nanocarrier is one of the method of applying drug to the targeted tumor site. And for this, we actually, that drug, for releasing the drug at a particular site, okay, it is done by using some external and internal stimuli, depending on the property of the nanocarrier. So you can see that how these nanocarriers are used for targeted drug delivery. So these are some nanocarriers. Okay, so these nanocarriers are functionalized to go into the cell and release the drug. These drugs are loaded in nanocarriers, and then after this, actually it goes and passes through the blood capillaries, and after these nanocarriers go inside the tumor site. So this is the tumor site, and once it enters inside the tumor, and it actually release its drug using some external stimuli. So inside the cell. So this way, actually, this targeted drug delivery works. So you can see this is the animation, how the nanocarriers delivers the drug to the site, what we discussed in last slide. So you can see in this case some drug actually carrier like doxorubicin is widely used in chemotherapy, which is known as DOX. So you can see here that the drug is going to the tumor site through the blood vessels. So in the presence of actually external stimuli, it goes to the targeted cancer cells. So these DOX nanoparticles are now going to the cell. And once it goes inside these cells, then DNA cell will break. So it will break, and this will actually spread the drug inside the cell. So this way, this works. So there are different type of nanocarriers available. For our study, we have used hydrogel, and generally this nanocarrier surface should be modified and functionalized for smart drug delivery applications. Nanocarrier should not be detected by the immune system of the body. Otherwise, it will kill before going to the targeted site. And drug should be deposited at the target site only with delivery of correct amount of drug under internal or external stimuli. So it should also be able to deliver other material like chemotherapeutic and genetic materials. So as we are using hydrogel, it is made of 3D cross-linked chain of hydrophilic polymers. And hydrogel is capable of holding large amount of water, and drug actually are kept inside this porous structure. So it is biocompatible, tunable, biodegradable, possesses porous structure. However, it has some drawback because it is having low mechanical strength. Okay, so when it passes through the constricted passages, actually it deforms. Due to its low mechanical strength. So hydrogel can be completely synthesized artificially because we have made this in our lab, and it can sustain adverse condition like high temperature and high or low pH environment. So these are some literature available on this drug delivery. Here you can see that this Wong et al. Actually use some nanocarriers which undergo margination and adhesion towards the wall, actually which deteriorate the effectiveness of these nanocarriers. So Toy et al. Actually proposed or suggested to use some soft deformable nanocarriers so that it can pass without margination and addition in the blood capillaries walls. So if they go margination and addition, then it will not reach to the tumor site at a desirable location, and they may decay before reaching to the tumor site. So in addition, while traveling of these nanocarriers, they may get identified by the immunity and they may be killed before reaching to the tumor site. For that, actually, Luke et al. Suggested that it is better to use membrane-bound nanoparticles, and so that it can give some human body-like environment to the nanocarriers, and it may not get detected by the immunity system of the body. So it can go to the tumor site and it can deliver the drug. So you can see here membrane-bound nanocarrier. So this is the drug-loaded nanoparticles, and these are actually bounded by these red blood cells. So it favors actually the interaction with the cell membrane. So this immune system of the body actually it recognize these drug loaded nanoparticles as it is actually covered with the red blood cells, so then will not be recognized. So this way actually membrane bound nanocarriers are used. There are many numerical studies already carried out here. Leung et al. Did some numerical study using some this hydrogel as using some shear thinning model like Maxwell model or viscoelastic drop model. Zhao et al. And Heman et al. Also did some numerical study, and here you can see that O et al. Actually did some study of the circulating tumor cells. So you can see that these are cluster of cells which are entering in the constricted capillaries. These are some, let us say, pulmonary capillaries, and they use some lattice Boltzmann method, and with different color you can see that how it enters in the passages, constricted passages, and it one by one it actually passes through these passages. So these are some numerical study where they have used some Finney model for this viscoelastic droplet. So now hydrogel actually was synthesized in the lab in the bioscience department. This hydrogel was synthesized by physical cross-linking of polyvinyl alcohol and polyvinyl pyrrolidone. This PBA and PBP were mixed in a ratio of 70:30, and the solution was stirred for 24 hours at 95 degrees centigrade. Then the mixture was incubated in -80 degrees centigrade for 12 hours, and afterwards the frozen mixture was melted at room temperature. The freeze-thaw cycle was repeated for 6 times to facilitate the cross-linking between PB and PBP forming hydrogel. The resultant mixture was centrifuged and washed thrice with deionized water to remove unreacted molecules. And we did some FETM analysis. You can see these pictures, and from these FETM pictures you can see that the majority of the hydrogel particles are spherical, but it has of different diameter, and you can see that these are also monodisperse in nature. So from here you can see what is the size of these hydrogel particles synthesized in the lab. So from this figure you can see that the average size of the hydrogel is 100 plus minus 15 nanometer, and from this right side figure you can see that the mean hydrodynamic diameter is 120 plus minus 25 nanometer of the this diameter, and which is suitable for cellular uptake. The increase of size detected in hydrodynamic diameter is due to the hydration process of the hydrogel. So now this design of this microfluidic device fabricated for mimicking the constriction of human blood capillaries. So you can see that when the blood passes through this our veins, actually it has some branches, and it will actually have the smallest possible pulmonary capillaries. So that we have mimicked here. So you can see this was actually fabricated at Indian Institute of Science in Nano Center. So you can see that this is the inlet, and this is the 35 micrometer wide channel in the beginning, and it is 3 millimeter in length. After that, after the entrance, you can see it is constricted to 7 micrometer channel, okay, which has the length of 200 micrometers. So it is actually mimicking the pulmonary capillaries. Then after that, again we have this 35 micrometer this width with this capillaries, and it is the outlet. So this is actually fabricated. The fabrication details actually this is fabricated using PDMS, and this is some this is the some picture from the of this fabricated microchannel. So you can see this microchannel. This is the microscope, and this is the microchannel actually placed on this microscope stage. And this is the semi-rigid polyethylene tube. Inner diameter is 0.38 millimeter, and outer diameter is 1.09 millimeter, and it is connected to the inlet and outlet of this channel. Sufficient volume of solution containing hydrogel particle with water as base medium was taken in this syringe pump, and syringe pump started to operate. That time hydrogel particle suspended in water medium begins to load through this connected tube and flow through the microchannel. So when it passes through the microchannel, whatever we have shown in the previous slide, so that we actually focus and we view using these inverted microscopes. And here one high-speed camera is attached, and this goes to the image acquisition system, and from there we do the post process. So this is the, you can see that this is the high-speed camera, and this is the micro pump, and this is the close view of the microscope, and this is the microscope stage where we keep the these microchannels. So the average velocity of blood generally varies from 0.03 to 40 centimeter per second, and the sample containing hydrogel nanoparticles suspended in water medium was allowed to flow passively at constant flow rate of 50 microliter per hour. As per the given flow rate, the average velocity of the external fluid in the constriction, means when it is passing through this 7 micrometer width, it is found to be 28 centimeter per second. So this is the experimental setup. Now we have done some numerical study also, because to actually for the comparison we have used this drop as a viscoelastic fluid, and in viscoelastic we have used the Finipi model, and we performed two-dimensional simulations. The viscoelastic drop of diameter 4 micrometer was given as initial position in accordance with the displacement of particle observed in the experiment. So whatever we have done in the experiment, there we have placed the this drop in the numerical simulation, and no slip boundary condition was applied at the channel walls. and inlet velocity was given at x equal to 0 here. So that whatever we are getting from the this micro pump, that we have given as the inlet velocity. Here you can see there are some non-dimensional numbers and parameters involved, like Reynolds number, capillary number, Deborah number, and viscosity ratio, solvent viscosity ratio, and density ratio. Here one signifies the property of the fluid 1, and rho is the density of the fluid, v is the average velocity, and d is the diameter of the channel corresponding to initial position of the drop, and mu is the viscosity of the drop, and sigma is the interfacial tension. And lambda is given as the relaxation time of the viscoelastic fluid, and t is the time scale of the process, and mu is the mu s, whatever it is used here, it is the solvent viscosity, and mu p is the polymeric viscosity. So the dimensionless number and the parameters values are taken as here given, you can see. So these values are actually selected based on the experimental parameters. So these are the governing equations. I will not go into details. You know, this is the continuity equation and this is the momentum equations. Okay. Here tau is the total stress tensor, and F is the interfacial surface tension force, and P is the pressure. So here T, capital T, you can see this is the extra stress tensor is coming due to the viscoelastic nature of the fluid. And Finipi model was used for this viscoelastic model, and these are the governing equations solved using Basilisk, one open source software. So that we have used for these two-dimensional simulations. For experimental study for this drag loading and efficiency determination was calculated using this. So doxorubicin actually was loaded in the hydrogel. So this is the drug doxorubicin, and by incubating hydrogel and doxorubicin in phosphate buffered solution under continuous stirring, and then the mixture was centrifuged and 10,000 RCF at 4 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes. Then the resultant pellet was collected, washed, and centrifuged thrice to flush out unbound drug. To determine the drug loading capacity efficiency, the supernatant was collected after the first centrifugation. So you can see now this loading capacity was calculated, that DOX initially used and minus DOX in supernatant divided by the DOX DOX initially used. Okay, so that way this loading efficiency is calculated. And for drug releasing, this way it is actually done. This is the process. I'm not going to discuss detail, but this is the way this is calculated. So for different study, we have used some APTM and APSM analysis, and we have used some this high-speed camera for the videography, and from there the results are post-processed. So you have seen that in this case we have done this hydrogel drug carrier we have used, and we have done the experimental study mimicking these blood capillaries, and also we have done some numerical study using viscoelastic Finipi model. So here we can see some experimental results. Okay, so you can see the movement of this hydrogel inside the constricted microchannel. So in the bottom you can see the animation. This is the hydrogel particle of 4 micron. It is passing now it is passing to the constricted passage, and it moves very fast because the flow rate becomes very high in the constricted passage, and again it comes out in the outlet. So there you can see that from this animation and from this picture you can see that after crossing and after elongated even inside the constricted passage, it retains its shape when it comes out. So it is evident from here that the hydrogel particles do not adhere to the channel wall, as these particles are soft and hydrophilic in nature, and hydrogel particle after leaving the constriction region tend to regain its original structure. So the particle did not lose its self-healing property even after traversing the constricted microchannel, because it should carry this drug to the targeted site, right? So although it is passing through this constricted passage, but still it retains its property. So this is the similar study, but with 9 micrometer hydrogel this size. So you can see that it is how it is coming and elongated inside the channel, then it coming out. So from here also it is visible that self-healing properties retained for the relatively larger hydrogel particles. Here you can see the migration of group of hydrogel drug carriers through the different regions of microchannel. So here you can see that 2, 3, 4 particles are coming. So in the pictures you can see how it is coming and going out. And in this case also you can see that the particles readily pass through this constriction and leave the constriction without re-agglomeration, so it doesn't agglomerate. So now we are coming to some numerical study. So whatever we have carried out in the experimental study, we took the inlet velocity, the diameter of the hydrogel from this experimental study, and we have used in the numerical study. So you can see this is the 35 micrometer wide and 38 micrometer long straight channel. Then after that, actually it is region. This is the region 1. Then in region 2, it is converging then to a constricted passage where the diameter is 7 micron of length 200 microns. So this is the region 3, and again region 4 it is diverging. So it is then it is going to again 35 micrometer wide channel. So this is the region 4. So this way it is passing. So now you can see this is the results from the numerical study, how it passes through these different regions. Okay, so you can see in the region 1, so this is the displacement and this is the time. So in the region 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so it is goes, and we have calculated from this the tangent velocity for different. What is the tangent velocity? Tangent velocity is the velocity, average velocity when it is passing through this region 3. Okay, so in the constricted passage when it is passing, that is the tangent velocity, and you can see we have carried out different numerical simulations using different hydrogel diameter, and this is you can see the red color is the experimental results. This is this is the result for the experiment, and we have done this tangent velocity measurement, and we have done this hydrogen loading and release. We have calculated from the experimental study, and this drug loading efficiency of the hydrogel were determined using fluorescence spectroscopy of excitation at 470 nanometer and emission at 595 nanometer. So you can see that here after around 3 hours, within 3 hours it becomes fully loaded, and it is approximately 68.6% of the doxorubicin was loaded in the hydrogel. And while releasing, you can see that within it takes within 12 hours actually it releases up to 60.6% of the drug, okay, at a pH environment of 7.4. So these are some comparison of numerical and experimental study. So you can see in the same place it was done, means placed this hydrogel, and you can see at different time instances how it passes. So you can see in the region 1 and 2, although it matches, but when it passes through the region 3, that means in the constricted passage, then there is a mismatch between the numerical result and experimental result. Okay, so you can see here, although in the numerical result it is here, but in the experimental result you can see it has already crossed the constricted passage. So there is a difference after the once it reaches and passes through the constricted passage. It is maybe due to because we could not measure the physical properties of the hydrogel used in the experiments. Although it was fabricated or synthesized in our lab, but we could not measure its properties. So from the literature, we have taken the properties of the hydrogel, and we do not know how to exactly model this hydrogel because we have considered as a drop in the numerical simulation, and we do not know what exactly Newtonian, non-Newtonian, and in non-Newtonian which model actually it is. It will be based to mimic this experiment. Although we have used the Finipi model and it gives some qualitative comparison how it passes through the constricted passage. Another reason of deviation may be that we have used no slip boundary condition in the constricted passage this in the numerical simulation, but in practice or in general you can see that when it is passes through the PDMS, this constricted passage, it may actually have some slip condition. Okay, so these are some reasons due to which we are getting the deviation of this numerical results with the experiments. So you can see here how these numerical simulations, these hydrogel particles passes through this constricted passage. You can see how it is going. Okay, it doesn't adhere to the constricted passage, then it is. So here we can see the movement of the single particle, and here we have used two particles, so you can see how it is passing. So one actually enters first in the channel, then the second one, and it passes through and again while coming out it regains its properties, although there is some elongation happens inside the constricted passage, but at the outside when it comes to the outlet it regains its shape. So here you can see some comparison of experimental and numerical results. So there is a deviation, as already we have mentioned the possible some reasons. So you can see for these reasons we have actually used no slip and slip condition in the numerical simulation. So this channel, this constricted passage, we have used slip condition and no slip condition, and whatever results I have shown, the numerical results, we have used no slip condition. So you can see in the deformation with time how actually it happens. So you can see that there is a deviation using these two different boundary conditions. And in addition, as we discussed, that there may be some possible reasons due to the how we are modeling this viscoelastic drop. So this actually is summary. So we have seen that we have used the synthesized the hydrogel particles, and this different size of hydrogel particles you have seen that it passes through this constricted passage without adhering, and it comes out in the outlet, and it keeps its shape, original shape, and regains, and so that it actually keeps the drug enclosed in this hydrogel. Mathematical model, we have used Finipi model, which is, we are not telling that it is best, but we tried to model it using some viscoelastic drop model, and there is a deviation we have observed due to various reasons. Now we'll go through this flow of cancer cells inside the constituted passage. In this case, also we use the same channel. So in normal cell, you see that they divide and multiply in the body for a particular reason in a fastened way. Okay, so we have a normal cell, so it goes in a fastened way. However, in the case of cancer cells, they grow in a unfastened way and in a uncontrollable way. And these cancer cells can spread their roots in nearby organs through nearby tissues, and they can go and penetrate inside lymph nodes, and through lymph nodes they enter in the blood vessels, and they start flowing with RBCs in the different parts of the body. And this is how the cancer metastasis. And you can see that when actually first let us show these animations, then we'll discuss. You please hear the voice also in the in this video.
The term neoplasm means new growth. Neoplasms may be benign, a growth that is generally harmless, or malignant, a growth that invades other tissue. Any malignant tumor is also known as cancer. Normal cells grow and function for a specific purpose. In cancer cells, the growth pattern is haphazard, has no specific pattern, and invades other tissue. Metastasis is the spread of the neoplasm to distant sites. Just the way plants send their roots into the soil, the finger-like projections of cancer force their way along the lines of least resistance and spread to other sites. The lungs are a common site of a carcinoma. The cancer cells invade the lung tissue. The cancer cells move from the lungs into the lymph system. As more and more cancer cells enter the lymph system, the cancer cells may spill over and enter the bloodstream. The cancer cells of the epithelial tissue, also known as carcinoma, metastasize from the lung into the lymph, then the general circulation, and metastasize to the liver. Cancer cells of connective tissue, also known as sarcoma, shown here in the thyroid gland, move directly into the general circulation. The cancer cells then metastasize to another site such as the bone. Cancer of the epithelial tissue metastasizes through the lymph tissue and blood. Cancer of the connective tissue metastasizes through the blood. The term neoplasm means
So earlier researchers actually they did some research, and they know that how the cancer cells enter in the blood vessels and how it actually passes with the RBCs in the blood cells. But earlier it was unknown that whether they can pass through some capillaries which has the lesser diameter than the cancer cell. So cancer cell diameter generally varies between let us say 18 to 30 micrometer, and now in normal blood cells it can easily pass, but once the pulmonary capillaries comes, its size may become less than 10 micrometer. So earlier researchers actually they thought that these the cancer cell which are having higher diameter than these capillaries may not pass these capillaries. But recently the researchers have done this experimental study and found that it can actually pass through these channels which are or capillaries which are having lesser diameter than the cancer cell diameter. So now we tried to do in this study to mimic the same thing, that whether it can pass through these capillaries lesser diameter than the cancer cell diameter or not. And after passing also, whether they can regain its properties or not, and whether they again can grow or not. So these are the questions we try to answer in this experimental study. So this is the same channels which were fabricated at Nano Center of IISc Bangalore, and these are some microscopic view. You can see this is the close view of these micro channels. So actually, one of our PhD student went to the IISc Bangalore, and she fabricated these channels. So you can see that PDMS is used with the cross-link mixture. Then SU8 master was prepared by their staff in the Nano Center. Whatever these means dimensions we have given of the channel. And then we use the nylon ring, and the PDMS was used to mold. And then these are the channels actually were fabricated from this SU8 master. And then these are actually cut into individual micro channels, but these are open channels because while fabricating you can see that one side is open, and here punching was done for the inlet and outlet holes to put the tube. And then you can see these are after fabrication, these are the micro channels, but open side actually preserved using some sellotape. Then after that, actually oxygen plasma chamber was used to cover the open side. Okay, so they use the IPA treated glass slide, and after that you can see this is the fabricated micro channel. Okay, so other side is glass, so that an inlet and outlet is there this side. So through tubes actually these cancer cells comes in, and from the outlet it goes out. So for this experiment, actually HeLa cells were used, and it was cultured in our BSB department. And originally, actually, these cells were brought from the National Center for Cell Science, Pune. As you can see that these cancer cells actually take the nutrients from the blood, right? But when it is cultured in the lab, the medium actually in which cell lines were cultured was DMEM high glucose, okay, from which they can get the nutrients. So actually these are the some procedures for the cell culture, and once this is done, actually those are collected from the BSB department for doing the experiments. So this is the experimental setup, same as earlier I have shown. So this is the micropump. Here these cancer cells were kept, and you can see through this tube it is connected to this micro channel, and then it goes out. And this is the high speed camera, and all these videos was captured in this computer. So this is the close view of this microscope stage where the microchannel was kept. As it is an inverted microscope, you can see the glass is kept bottom side, because from there the images are taken. And in the right hand side, you can see this is the syringe with cancer cells suspended in the DMEM medium, and these actually were used in the micro pump, and this comes through these micro channels, through this tube, and it goes through these micro channels. So now you can see this is the flow of a single HeLa cell. So while performing experiments, the student actually observed different phenomena that we are trying to show it here. So you can see a single HeLa cell is coming. So you can see its diameter is higher than the constricted passage. Okay, this is 7 micrometer, and you can see it is the 35 micrometer wide channel. So obviously it is very higher than this constricted passage, and you can see how it actually enters slowly, then it elongates, and it passes through this constricted passage. Again it comes out, and it tries to regain its again same shape. So you can see the animation now I am showing here below. So you can see this is the cell is coming, then elongated, then again going out. Okay. So this is the flow of triplet of HeLa cells. So you can see how actually it is passing through this constricted passage in a fashion manner, one by one. It enters inside this passage, elongates, then again comes out, and you can see outside some structures actually damaged. You can see this cell is damaged. So this is the animation you can see here. So all these are experimental results. Okay. Now you can see flow of cluster of HeLa cells. So sometime what happens in a cluster, this cancer cell comes, but we observed that when it enters inside the constricted passage, one by one it enters, and slowly it passes through this constricted passage. So you can see the animation here. How one by one actually it enters. Okay, then it passes. So some cells you can see it keeps its original shape, but some cells are getting damaged. So now the question is that when it actually passes through the constricted passage due to elongation, actually it disrupts, and now the question is that are all the cells live when it comes outside these pulmonary capillaries? And second question is that if those are live, then still they have the property to grow or not. Okay, so for that we did this fluorescence based study. Okay, so this is done by dual staining with archidine orange and ethidium bromide, and these are some staining procedure was done and use the fluorescence. So here you can see this is the microchannel. Okay, this is the converging channel, then the constricted passage, this is the diverging channel. So this is the different regions you can see. So at the inlet, if you see that most of the cells are green. Green means these are all live cells. Okay, and one or two you get those are some red cells which are actually dead. Okay, and if orange or yellow cells, those are dying cells. So in the inlet, most of the cells are you can see live. Then it passes, then when it comes out you can see we can see more red cells and also some orange and yellow cells. That means those are dying cells. So now to quantify this, another steps were used, the Trypan blue dye exclusion assay. So this using this Trypan blue methods, actually these cells, the live cells and dead cells are counted in this device. Okay, cell counting device. So this is a cell counting device. After this Trypan blue dye exclusion assay, actually this is put inside this automated cell counter, and you can see this is the stent cells. And now we have done this cell viability study. That means after passing through the this constricted passage, how many cells are live and dead, that we have counted. Okay, so now you can see that First thing is that after taking the cultured cells, okay, one part was actually taken for the experiments. So for doing experiments, let us say it is taking 1 hour. So we did the experiment. So that is the third column, cells pass through the constituted channel. Okay. And the same collected, this originally collected from this lab, those are actually kept in general environment, okay, without passing through the constituted channel. Okay, so that means in the natural environment how many cells are dying, that to observe. So this is the second column, okay, cells without passing through the constituted passage. So you can see that here total number of cells, number of live cells, number of dead cells were counted, and from here you can see that when we collected the sample, there are almost 95% cells were live. When we did the experiment through the constituted passage and at the outlet, we collected the sample, and those test samples, you can see that 48% are live. Okay, so 48% live. So 50% almost cells actually died after passing through the constricted passage. Now if you see the second column here, without passing through the passage, just we kept these cells in the general environment. Okay, so here so you can see that 86% cells are live and few died due to the natural environment. So you can see that although it actually the cells, when it crosses inside the constituted passage, it actually almost 50% cells actually died. Okay, now the next question is that if 50% cells are died, so 50% cells will be live, so whether they have the capability to grow again or not. Okay, so you can see there are experiment 2 and experiment 3, almost you can see that 50% of the cells are live after performing the experiment. So here you can the cell viability study, so experimental set 1, set 2, set 3, and you can see that almost 50% cells are live after passing through the constituted passage. Okay, so some hydrodynamic of the single HeLa cell was done. So this is the region 1, is region 2, it is passing through this converging channel, then it passes through the tangent region, and where here we actually calculate the tangent velocity, again it exits. So you can see the distance traveled, okay, and time taken to travel. So in the entry region, you can see that how it is traveling, region 1 and 2. Then in the constricted passage, obviously it travels very fast because this is a constricted passage. So obviously flow rate should be high. So obviously this is actually, you can see velocity is high. So this passes in a smaller time. And then again in the exit region, you can see. So it is done for the cell size 20.5 micrometer. Now deformation index was calculated. What is the deformation index or elongation index? So that is the L by D. L is the maximum length of the cell in the microchannel. Okay, when it is passing through the constituted passage, it elongated. So that maximum length was calculated, and D is the original diameter of the cell. So at different cell size, you can see these are the experimental studies. So it is calculated. Obviously, when the cell size increases, so obviously it elongates more inside the constricted passage. This is the left side figure. You can see the calculation of tangent velocity. So tangent velocity is calculated inside the constricted passage, and for different cell size, you can see, obviously you can see that higher cell size it take its velocity is less because it's very slowly it moves inside the microchannel, and smaller cells passes very fast through the constricted passage. And this is the entry time, that means from region 2 to 3, how much time it took to completely entered this cell inside the constituted passage. So you can see this is the entry time at different cell size, and you can see that large cells takes much more time to squeeze itself and enter into the constituted passage compared to the small cells. Now the other question let us answer. The third question was that whether the these cells which actually already cross the constituted passage, whether they have the capability of growing it again or not, whether they can again actually pass and grow the cancer or not. Okay, so you can see this is the A, B and C figures you can see. So A, now this is actually, these are the cells collected from the outlet of the constituted channel and regrown in the cell culture dish. Okay, so A is after 12 hours, B is 48 hours and C is 72 hours. So you can see that it has its capability to regrow again. Okay, so that means it can spread the cancers after passing through the constricted passage. So this is the conclusion. So you can see this is the APSM APSM image of this microchannel. Okay, and this is the fabricated microchannel, and when it passes through the constituted passage, how it actually elongates and comes out at the outlet. And we have done some dual staining process to count how many live cells and dead cells are there, and from there we have seen that almost 50% cells are still live after passing through this constricted passage, and it has this capability to regrow again and can spread the cancer. Okay, so this is the end of my lecture. So I will just show our biomicrofluidics lab.
We have this inverted microscope. So it is from Leica. The model name is Leica DMI 3000M. So it is actually inverted microscopes. So as you all know, for the inverted microscope, we have the objective and the light source in two opposite directions, and we have the workpiece in between them. So you can see here is the light source, and to increase the intensity of the light source, we have a knob here. So as you can see, as I move this knob, the light source here increases. So just beneath the platform, having sample, we have objective. You can see there are lenses which are on the mounting. So just by removing the mountings, we can choose different lenses, different objectives of different zoom. Here we can zoom a sample up to 100x. To focus our sample, we can regulate this knob according to the best possible focus we can get. To move the platform, we can move it horizontally like this, and also sidewise like this by using this knob. To capture the image and the video of the sample, we have this phantom high-speed camera. So this camera at a very good resolution can capture images or video at a frame rate of 5000 frames per second. But by changing the resolution, we can also capture video of any sample or video of any flow at even 10,000 or 20,000 FPS. So for data processing, we use this phantom camera controller software. So we can choose different properties of the frames and camera from here. You can see we can set resolution here. We can also set sample rate that is frame per second or pixel per second here, exposure time. With this software, we can see info about frames. Here you can see it shows the time when the frame was captured, the interval between two frames, the exposure, and we can also see info about the cine files. Cine files are the files which we capture while recording a flow or recording the process. We can also perform measurements with this software. We can, by calibrating with some known scale, and in the measurement we can find distance, time elapsed, time between frames, and velocity, acceleration. For the flow actuation, we use this syringe pump, which is from Harvard Apparatus. We can hold a volume of a syringe at this platform. We can also select the volume of the syringe from this option, and we can give the diameter of the syringe and the volume of the syringe here. We can also select the infusion rate from this option. You can select the unit of the flow rate which you require from here. Here it is milliliter per hour. We can also select the target volume by using this option. We can capture the images under bright field mode, and we can also see color of specific wavelength by using this fluorescent lamp. So by choosing a suitable filter with appropriate emission and excitation wavelength, we can see fluorescent particles under this microscope.
So this is actually a collaborative work. The hydrogel, this drug carrier actually was carried out this work by the present student Niraj Kumar. And this flow of cancer cells actually and fabrications of those, all the microchannels were done by our graduated PhD student Dr. Binita Nath. With the collaboration, we have done this work with Professor Siddhartha Shankar Ghosh from BSB department of IIT Guwahati and Professor Gautam Biswas. He was earlier our director, and now he has gone back to IIT Kanpur. And we also acknowledge the help actually extended to fabricate the microchannel at CNAC center for this from IISc Bangalore. So Professor Rudra Pratap actually extended the help to actually access the lab to our student, and they actually went and fabricated all these channels. And we also use some facility from microfluidics lab actually developed by Professor Pranab K. Mandal. So thank you for your patience for listening me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for providing a thought-provoking lecture on flow dynamics across a microchannel. So I invite participants to ask for any doubts or any clarifications. Or
hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
Good morning, sir. I am Jyotiranjan Mahapatra, PhD scholar at NIT Rourkela. Sir, I just wanted to know the applicability of the no-slip boundary condition. Basically, here the channel dimension is very small. As you said, it's around 7 micrometer range. So within that region, we must be having the the Knudsen number basically higher. The channel dimension comparable to that of the mean length, sir. Sir, how could we know about the applicability of
yes, so that we already told that we are not sure that which model to use. Actually, we tried with no slip and slip condition, but both the results actually didn't match with the experimental results. Okay, although we have done with no slip condition, but we do not know that how much slip is taking place and what is the property of the surface of this PDMS channel. Okay, so that is also not, we have not characterized. Okay, so we do not know. So for that reason, means just we have taken no slip condition, but applicability point of view, obviously we are not sure that whether to use no slip totally or free slip totally, because free slip totally also is not good. We do not know what is the slip condition, okay, of that channel surface. So for just some qualitative comparison, we have used no slip condition. Slip condition also we have used, but we have not shown some result. Only comparison we have shown. But you are correct, right? Means obviously there will be some slip in that means size of the microchannel.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I just wanted to know another question.
Yes.
If there are any solver that employs Navier-Stokes equation with slip boundary conditions, sir, right now, are there any open source or any type of solvers that employ this type of?
Yes, you can use now all the commercial softwares you have, like ANSYS Fluent. Let us take it is very popular and easily available. This ANSYS Fluent, okay, it is having the slip condition. Okay, you can actually give in terms of slip length. Okay. Or slip velocity. Okay, so or some other commercial software like COMSOL also is having this condition. Okay, so maybe you have to write some UDF for that. Okay, but ANSYS Fluent, I know that you can give the slip length.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, but what software we are using, that is your Basilisk. So ready-made means this slip condition is not available. I mean, you can give no slip or free slip for these two extreme condition we have used, but maybe means one has to write some function there to apply this free slip means slip condition.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another small question, sir. Sir,
yes,
basically,
yes.
Sir, the flow regime within the microchannel is basically termed as laminar because we have a very small Reynolds number.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Sir, there's also transition if we have, for example, after Reynolds number of 1000, there is a transition from laminar to turbulent in case of microchannel. Sir, what kind of model is basically suitable for use in microchannel? Is it the laminar model or a certain kind of turbulent model we can employ while studying the flow through microchannels, sir?
No. Say if you are studying the microchannel, mostly it is very low velocity flow, and Reynolds number is very low, like order of 1 or less than 1, right? Reynolds number. So laminar flow is obviously you can take. But now, say if you are going with some applications, with some obstacles, which actually introducing the turbulence, right? That means I have not done much study, I cannot say, but obviously due to the presence of some obstacles and due to the flow physics, so you do not have any inlet turbulence, but while it is flowing inside the microchannel, due to the configuration of the microchannel, maybe some turbulence was turbulent may be created. Okay, so obviously the means except the boundary conditions, means you can use the whatever available turbulence models are there, but means I am not sure that I have not done any study, so I am not sure whether specific to this microchannel flow there is some models available or not. But I am means in my opinion that the same model can be used except if it is a slip condition, so you have to check how to implement the boundary condition.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So any other questions? Any other queries? So with this,
hello, sir.
Yes,
Professor Dalal. This is
yes.
Kishore actually from the organizer. I have several doubts in my mind.
Yes, yes.
So,
please.
Basically, sir, this thing, the motivation part, right from that, you said that the cancer cell from the lung, pulmonary, through epithelial, they cross and they go into the bloodstream, and then it go to the several other by jumping that the narrow passage. Okay. So I believe the motivation, this is what lead to the this concentric channel study where I guess the purpose is to see whether when they pass this concentric channel, how much they damage, how much they are
Yes.
alive.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So my doubt is like, so do we believe that in our body, due to this interpassage from one section of, like let's say respiratory section, lung section to bloodstream, do that this cancer cell also die in that process? Is it so?
Yes, so means as per the study available in the literature and whatever we have done the study, say if the size of the cancer may be higher, very higher, and if somehow when it passes through the this constituted passage or pulmonary capillaries, then it may actually disrupt and cell may die. But from our study that we have shown, say whatever 50% we are telling, that may not be applicable in the real life, but there may be some damage of the cells in real life. Okay, but whatever conditions we have used, like PDMS we have used, it is not a soft surface like the veins, right? So those are the conditions will differ, and obviously result will differ, but there may be chance of rupture of the cells, few cells inside the body. Okay, but still they have means whatever live cells are there, but they have the capability to grow and spread the cancer. So that we tried to answer. Yes, your
Yeah.
next
So
question.
yeah, like in the same series, the length of that concentric channel. Hello.
Yes, please continue.
Yeah, the length of that concentric channel, how do you link it with that the length of that passage through which it has been crossing through the epithelial barrier and
Yes, so
going
it
from
is
one section to another? Like, is there some parametric
no.
studies possible in that sense?
We have not done in that way. So we have taken just to mimic the this pulmonary capillaries. Just we have taken 200 micron, but the length will vary, right, in the body. In different section it will vary. But with the given condition, whatever we have done the experiments, okay, there we are just trying to conclude our results that with this but whatever velocity we have taken, so that is the normal velocity means in our human body, okay, of the blood. Okay, so that we have taken care, but obviously there are many differences, like you are telling the length. The other thing is that the channel itself, because channel itself is the PDM based, right? It is not flexible, but in our human body all these are flexible. And whatever you are saying that whether the cells when it is passing through in our veins or the pulmonary capillaries, whether it is dies or not, all cells may not die, because there will be some extension of the capillary and they may not die, but there may be some chances of rupture of the cells.
Okay. So one more thing, through this micro channel, is there a way to mimic that soft surface? Like as you said,
Yes.
epithelial may are more soft than the PDMS. So
yes,
just
it is
some
possible, because you can actually, when you are cross-linking this PDMS and other mixture, so there with a different ratio you can do. But problem is that fabrication, because say if it is a very 100 micrometer, and it will be very easy to fabricate. But because I will say the story, because you can see the channel dimension. Do you know what is the size of our hair diameter?
Right.
It is around 70 micron. Okay. So one here, if you take, it is of the order of 70 micron. Now we are going 10 times lower. So 7 micron is invisible, right? and there making say soft surface and fabrication is a challenging task. When we started with this discussion with our PhD student, Professor Siddhartha Shankar Ghosh and Professor Biswas, so the challenge was how to fabricate this channel. We contacted many commercial means this vendor here in Pune and but Ochira Lab, so they told that below 100 micron they cannot fabricate. Maybe 70 micron, but 7 micron was the challenging task to fabricate. So then Professor Rudra Pratap is friend of Professor Biswas. He contacted, and in that time that nano center actually was coming up. So he told that he will extend all possible help, and we are very grateful to him that for this fabrication he didn't take any price. Okay, whatever this PDMS that we have used, but for the fabrication purpose he didn't. But if we go for this, I am telling it will cost a lot. Whatever. So now the challenge is that fabricating very small diameter channel, 7 micron. Now when you are using soft surface, so again another challenge. Okay, to maintain that 7 micron things, even you can see that when we are actually covering it, the open surface, that is also challenging. Even at IIT Guwahati, we could not cover it. Although some facilities are available, but still it is challenging. So obviously, it can be possible, but with care and with sophisticated instruments, we can fabricate the soft surface with PDMS. Actually, one of our student, Bhaskar Jyoti Sharma, he already graduated. He did something on that, but he did soft surface of PDMS, but drop or impact of droplet. Okay, not microchannel A, but impact of drop. So he fabricated this soft surface in the lab using PDMS.
So, Professor Dalal, actually, it was a very wonderful finding that you come up like more than 50% cell will die if they go through
with a given condition, whatever condition we use in the experiment. Yes.
Right. Do you see this application in medical coming up with a device where you can kind of filter the like some remedy in cancer, like whether we can, if we come up with the device?
Yes. So these are actually already means in the literature. There are some this lab on chip available. People are working on it, and we have also planned, because whatever their student Niraj his last work is to that one, means separation of these cells. So that is his challenging work as a last problem. So that we are working on, and many researchers are doing and proposed many things earlier also. So like helical cells, helical channels. In the helical channels, actually these are actually separated. We have seen, but now people are doing in different ways. So we are also trying to do something. Let us see if we come up. But this is a challenging task. And you know that Professor Ashish Sen,
is working on very cutting edge thing in that.
Yes, Professor Ashish Sen from IIT Madras is deeply working on this problem.
Yeah. I remember some of the talk once very recently you organized micro channels, and from the same professor as you said, and from Bombay, some professor.
Amit Agarwal, Professor Amit Agarwal. Yes. So RBC separation. Yes.
I remember most of those talks and their approach in this field. It's very definitely a very fascinating field.
Yes. So they have come up with the device actually, because it is a low cost and almost 99% separation you can do.
I also have a bit deep interest as a young researcher in this. Sometimes,
good.
Permit, like to discuss with you about that.
Sure. You are always welcome. Okay.
So thank you, Dr. Nayak. Please ask participant if they want to ask.
I guess from audience and everyone. Is there any other questions
from the participants? Please raise your hand if you want to ask.
Hello, sir. Good morning. This is Devendra.
Yes,
Sir,
good morning.
sir, here that as you told, the dimensions are very small, and the data which you take from experimental setup, that is not giving the accurate data, or so can we or can you have some data from like a medical institute in terms of image processing that you correlate with your for modeling in the software like that?
Yes, so actually, we are not doing this means as a hardcore thing. We are starting something, but Professor Siddhartha Shankar Ghosh, who is actually a specialist in this cancer cells, or means his research area is this, and he's having much collaboration with different hospital, and they have the live data, and they are collaborating, and they are doing something because they are a, but we are trying to now, we have added some flavor with in Professor Ghosh research, where we have taken the flow, okay, fluid flow, mimicking the blood flow in that way. So obviously in future, say, obviously means we'll try to do, but Professor Siddhartha Shankar Ghosh is having already collaboration with hospital, and they are having this raw data.
So, sir, means with from the images we can predict the properties in the blood or something related to like that, so that we can use in CFD.
No, from the images you cannot cannot find the properties. You have to do some means experiments to find the. So that was the challenge, and we could not find the properties of this hydrogel or the cancer cell. Although we have the cancer cell, but how to model it? We can model as a Newtonian drop or non-Newtonian, and non-Newtonian which model. So it is a very challenging task. So obviously Newtonian will not fit, because you can see that means whatever structure it is having, it is different, right? Cancer cell or hydrogel, whatever. So now we are trying with the non-Newtonian model, and in non-Newtonian model actually we are trying using different models, say shear thinning, shear thickening, and FINIP and other models. Even we tried with some in-house solver also, so that we can mimic it properly. But problem is that we are not getting the whatever experiments we have done. We do not have the properties of the cancer cell, or we do not have the properties of the hydrogel. Whatever we have done in the numerical simulations, we have taken the properties from the literature who did some experiment in their lab, but those facilities are not available in IIT Guwahati just to calculate its properties. So that is the drawback, but we are trying to give some flavor of qualitative results or comparison.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So thank you, sir, for providing a wonderful lecture. And I guess most of the audience are very enthusiastic to work on this research area. So, so with this kind note, thanks a lot, sir. In your busy schedule, you have given us an opportunity to interact with you. So,
thank you. Thank to all the participants, and to both of you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Be in touch.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes.
Okay. Bye bye.
So